The Ivorians, look, 2 reasons why I don't think they'll beat Senegal. The pressure is too immense.
And we saw it against Nigeria. The moment they went down, they were so nervous. So
and look at Sadio Mane. Come on, man. He's a team player, isn't it? He's the star boy in the team.
Yeah.
But
he's setting up goals.
You hardly see that he's indeed the star.
Yeah.
He's making life very easy for those in and around him. He's not overly dwelling on the ball like somebody would do in the Black Stars.
And he's not. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again with another episode of Mallam Go. My wife calls it Mallam Go Push. I don't know where she got the push from. But yeah, the Mallam Go podcast, we're back again. For those of you that like to see us on YouTube, make sure you always share the videos, like, subscribe to the Betway page, and of course, tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, we're back again. AFCON is into the round of 16. Ghana is not part of the countries in the round of 16. We'll look at the round of 16 fixtures. The Ghana conversation is another one. And because of that, today on the show, I have a very special guest.
Charlie, I've missed you guys. I've missed you guys.
Welcome to the pod.
The regulars are here. Sitcho is there. Achu is there.
To the house.
Cranting is there. Charlie. And our guest of honor.
You see, the fact of the matter is when they are coming, they don't call me. They
call you for other things.
Yes, for this one, they don't call me.
Charlie.
Numo said, my friend, that thing you have been recording now, I have something to say. When are you doing the next one? I said, Numo, you don't get a problem.
Ade.
Welcome to the show.
Always welcome.
Ade.
Welcome to the show.
Now good.
Yeah.
Numo, round of 16 is here. We are not part.
It was bound to happen. No two ways about it. There was no way.
Prophet.
No, you have been very close to me. I mean, you are like my junior brother.
You predicted it, huh?
I predicted it. And there were times where people referred to me as being a doomsayer. Am I not Ghanaian? I said, no. You know me, I don't support the wrong. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yes.
It's typical of people in this country. When somebody does the wrong thing, instead of we to look the person in the eye and point it out, that you are wrong.
We like to hide.
You hide, then all of a sudden from nowhere, and let's support the wrong. I don't do that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. My good friend.
Both hands are full.
That is, you see, look, if you are godly and you believe in his values, when it's wrong,
it is wrong. We'll talk about them last stars. No more. But guys, let's talk about the round of 16 fixtures. Very important conversations to be had. And listen, go through the fixtures and we'll go through them one by one. But cracking matches in there, matchups in there. And there are 2 big games on paper at least. But there are even some matches that are much bigger off the paper. I don't know if this is the right thing to say. But let's go through the fixtures. First one, Saturday, starting us off, Nigeria against Cameroon. And apparently, the man that has been cooking in the laboratory is back. Vincent Abubakar.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Yeah.
Sitcho.
Yeah.
Bro, what a cracking game.
Listen, it's going to be a very good one. And I like to tell people that in competitions or in tournaments, there are 2 tournaments in one tournament, or 2 mini tournaments in one tournament. So the first tournament is the group stages. And the second mini tournament is the knockout phase. What I'm trying to say is that the football in the groups phase can be very different from what you see in the knockout stage. So don't for one second think that the teams you saw excel in the group stages are necessarily going to be the ones that are going to do well in the knockout stage.
Are you shading Senegal?
No, they would be careful. Senegal would have to be very careful.
Okay. We'll get to them in a bit.
Yeah, we'll get to them. But what I'm saying is Cameroon didn't have the best of group stages.
True.
But now they are through. And they would have had 3 games to learn their weaknesses. They would have had the fear of getting knocked out. And sometimes that could be the motivating factor for you not to slack. And they'll go into that game not being favorites. Obviously, Nigeria will look slightly more favorites to go through than Cameroon, based on how Nigeria qualified, the points they had and what have you. But this is the point. Nigeria have shown that they don't have to play the beautiful football to create chances. Last time when they were here in the group stages, they were the best team on the eye in the group phase.
Yeah.
But they got knocked out in the last 16. In the last time when they were here in 2021, they were creating chances and they were taking them. This time, Nigeria have accepted the problem they have. The problem Nigeria have got is that their midfield didn't look strong. So what the team does is not to play the unnecessarily expansive football that exposes the weakness they've got in the middle of the park. Again, defensive problems, they had it. So when they were playing against Cote d'Ivoire, you realize that when Yusuf Mohamed was injured, they went to play the 3-back, put in another centre-back. And then in the middle of the park, put Sanusi and also pushed Ola Aina to make it virtually 4. At times, when they were under pressure, defended in 5. And Nigeria have not necessarily used that system throughout the 3 games. What they've shown this time is that they can be adaptable.
So
depending
therefore,
on what situation.
So therefore, they will beat Cameroon or what?
No, I'm not saying that. So I'm saying that Nigeria have also got what it's... Unlike last time, in 2021, they were very predictable after the first 3 games.
Yeah.
We knew how they would play. We knew the patterns. We knew the combinations. But in the first 3 games of this tournament, you can't predict Nigeria. What
You don't know what you're getting from them.
Absolutely. And what you know is they will create the chances. They've not been taking them so far, but don't bet against them starting to take them in the knockout phase. But for Cameroon, as I've already said, they've not looked good. But they have a second opportunity of doing this. But this is competition and this is tournament football where extra time will count, penalties will count, nerves will matter, and what have you. So it's difficult to predict who is going to go through, even though Cameroon have not looked good. I back Nigeria to slightly get over them, but I won't be surprised if Cameroon, in the face of adversity, get past Nigeria because they've done it on before.
Me, Zucho, Wakasa, you said plenty. Tactics. I think Cameroon will knock Nigeria out.
Based on what?
You think or you hope?
It's not hope. I just feel like Nigeria.
On the face of what we've witnessed,
Yeah.
you are tempted to say Nigeria will knock them out.
Yes.
But if there is any team in the AFCON that Nigeria never wants to come across,
It's
Cameroon.
That's what I've just said.
And I think that mentally will play into the hands of Cameroon.
Yes.
Because
I
Rigo
agree.
Besson is one of those who was there when they went all the way to Surulere at the time.
Yes.
In Nigeria.
Yeah.
When we co-hosted the tournament with them
2000.
in 2000.
Yeah.
And they had the likes of J.J. Okocha, Finidi George, and Victor Mpigba and all those people. And Cameroon at the time had Samuel Eto'o and all those big names,
Boma and Co.
Boma and Co. And that, in my view, was one of the best finals I've ever witnessed.
Oh, yes.
At the AFCON. Yeah, they were playing well at the time. But again, for them to have done that to Nigeria at that
On home soil.
when I think they came back from a 2-0 deficit. And when J.J. Okocha scored that goal, he looked in the sky, pointed at Surulere, the TEF, and told everybody in the world that on this ground, nobody will survive here. They are not losing. Eventually, Rigo Besson was the one who slotted in that final penalty for Cameroon to win the cup.
And
Nigeria has always not been that good against Cameroon. Most often than not, anytime they meet Cameroon in a major tournament like the AFCON, Cameroon tend to beat them.
They also beat them in 2019, the
2019.
quarterfinal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Nigeria won that game.
No,
No, Nigeria beat Cameroon.
Yes.
Yeah,
But if you cross check, when it matters most, Cameroon tend to have that psychological edge. One thing that you really need to respect Cameroon for is their mental toughness.
Yeah.
Look, take it or leave it. Any other team, from what they experience, would have been
In the build-up. And even the tournament itself was very chaotic.
They drew in their first game when they had a superior man advantage for close to 60-something.
Yeah.
They couldn't win it. In that second game, they lost. Even in the last game that they were playing,
They were losing.
they were losing.
But that was Gambia, though.
Yes, but
The Gambia team that had 0 points.
they had 0 points.
So
But
why are we praising Cameroon for making the game that difficult? Well, they were poor.
I think the general
coming.
impression is
The
that
general impression
Cameroon
about
has not been good.
They've not been good.
And that on another day, or another team, Gambia could have gotten one over them.
Exactly. But
They
what
show some
they
mental
did,
strength.
You could clearly see in that last 5 minutes when it was clear they were exiting
Yeah.
the tournament. Look at Rigo Besson on the touchline. Look at his reaction. It's like he told all the players that he wasn't going to accept that. He was not ready to accept the fact that they were exiting. So he started pushing all of them forward. come, let's go. We are Cameroon. And it would take a team with character to do that. Cameroon may not be playing the fancy football, but they are a tournament team.
Yeah.
They are indeed a tournament team.
Yeah.
So when you are coming against them and they look at where they were and where they now find themselves and where they could possibly be, you don't want to cross their path.
Yeah.
My only worry with them is the fact that they tend to give too much or too many chances away. I think they've conceded too many sloppy goals that they shouldn't have conceded in the tournament. And Rigobert's son have to decide between Andre Onana and the young man who won them.
Onana doesn't
the
have to
cup.
come back today.
I do believe that for the sake of team spirit and belief, Onana will have to start from the bench. He understands.
Is
his
it
position.
only about team cohesion and spirit? Isn't it also about form?
No, I think
Onana has a 0% save. He has a 0 save percentage.
No,
So every shot on target against him has been a goal.
No, but if you look at the goal he conceded,
Yes, he has a 0
Just a
save
minute.
percentage. True
Just a
story.
minute. If you look at the goals he conceded,
In AFCON.
Okay,
No,
I mean,
if you look
In
at the goals,
AFCON.
if you
So
look
in
at-
other words, every Vincent Abubakar shot, goal.
no, but if you look at the goals he conceded,
Osimhen,
no,
sorry.
truth be told, if you look at the goals he conceded in the game in which he was in goal, you don't fault him for
I can fault him for one.
Which one?
Minimum one, at least the first one.
No, the first one. Under pressure, he punched the ball. I think he gave the
No
ball
more.
a decent.
but coach, you know this more than
Wait.
Onana has a worse save percentage than
Richard Ofori.
champion.
But we have to put that in context. You can have a
I
zero
don't care about
percent-
context.
No,
No
it
one
matters,
is
so-
allowed to be worse than
No, but
Richard
coach,
Ofori.
in the first goal, I mean, you know, but I mean, better than me in this one. If your goalkeeper is going to go for a punch, if you're going to go for maybe a parry, you're looking at what angle you're parrying the ball.
Exactly,
You're
yes.
firing.
Don't
If he's
forget-
going for a punch,
It is always
he's looking
based.
for distance and height.
Exactly. It is always based on the trajectory of the ball.
Yeah.
That punch wasn't a ball flying from. It was
Yeah.
a ball that was already looping in the air.
Yes.
So there was no way he could have given the ball that long of a distance.
So
If you look at
give it direction.
no, but direction
But
under
Chris,
pressure.
isn't that the opposite? That if the ball is not traveling with too much speed and power, you can actually control and gather enough
thought
energy
it didn't
behind
even
it.
jump- it didn't even jump
Because
high
if
enough.
the ball is
Okay.
coming at full speed, it will simply bounce off your fist.
No.
So all
if
of
the
the-
ball is
all-
coming even at full speed,
Yeah.
just a fingertip
See how much effort you
Takes
people are
it away.
taking to defend it.
takes it away. But
my
let's
people,
let's
I
let's
don't-
let's
let me
call the
see
spade a spade. I will put him on the bench. If I'm the coach, he sits on the bench. No two ways about that.
You,
for the sake of team spirit.
You call that game for me.
I think Cameroon qualify.
Thank you.
But there is a
Fed, you're saying Cameroon is qualifying, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Cameroon
Yeah.
qualify.
I mean, I think Nigeria can make it.
there are two things for me here. You see the organized chaos.
You get one. So if you like, box it into
or boxing,
one.
the organized chaos that delivered the result. Because whatever Cameroon did to qualify, you can't call it technical. I don't think any sort of technical analysis can explain or try to make sense.
no, that's how.
Especially that last
No,
game.
no, no,
It
no.
was Basa like that. Inshallah.
It was that we
that
were
is
not
exactly
going
how
to
they try
accept
to
that.
that we're going out.
That we're going out at this
Actually,
stage.
no, that's how they scored all the
That
Against Gambia.
yes, that organized
no,
chaos.
They have the strength, they don't use it.
That organized chaos is something Nigeria have not had to deal with before. Certainly not in this tournament. The other thing for me also is that we have not seen any team stretch the Nigerian defense. And for those who have been able to, the few times that they do so with sustained momentum.
Okay.
So someone is able to take on 2 or 3 players, get them out of the equation, or a brilliant pass comes in. But the build-up is so slow that before you realize, Sanusi, Bassey, Trustekong, all of these guys, they move closer. They close down the space. So they revert back to type, and then the team reverts to its original shape. What it means is that now they are within reasonable distance and they can deal with the threats respectably without really conceding much chance or goals. That is one thing I think Cameroon are going to test by the introduction of Karl Toko Ekambi and Vincent Abubakar, if the two of them combine.
Oh God, I have missed Vincent Abubakar.
So
It's
for
not
me,
an AFCON without him.
So for me, a lot of the credits that people are giving Nigeria, I'm reluctant to join because the defending they are doing is very comfortable. The adjustment that they are having to make, even with the introduction of Bassey, is not too dissimilar from how the team was playing originally, to the extent that it will affect the way the team plays or how they defend against those chances. Let us see them get to a point where the centre backs are being moved 5-6 meters away from the next centre
But it's
back.
Cameroon the team to do that,
The
though.
fullback.
It's Cameroon the team to do because their wingers have not looked like players that
Stylistically,
can
no.
take. Yeah.
Stylistically, no.
Christopher
But
Wu to score.
the chaos that they introduced against Gambia in the final 15 minutes is something that they can do. And the beautiful thing about these things is that they don't need to sustain it for 90 minutes. It is something that if you can, bam, 5-8 minutes, it gets you the goal. 5 minutes is even a stretch. So until I get to see Nigeria deal with such a scenario, I will not be in a hurry to give them that credit. Unlike teams like Senegal.
Thank you next. That's the full phrase. One bam, thank you next.
That's it.
Daniki, is that how it's going to be?
I think Cameroon have a strength that they may not know they have. For a team that has thrived so much on aerial balls, be it set pieces or crosses.
They scored
You see
two
them-
of those against Zambia, right?
Two of those against Ghana. All their
from
goals
the
have come
scenarios.
from
Wow.
crosses or set pieces.
That's crazy.
And it shows their dominance. And the fact is, it's not all scenarios where they dominate the box and it's like it's a free man.
Yeah.
Because of their height and their physicality, especially from their forward players, even the guys from the fact, basically, I think they have I'll not be surprised if they have one of the highest
You mean the tallest
average
players?
height. Yeah, they have in terms of height. So because they have that, I think for me, I was a bit disappointed that they only resort to that very late in the game where they start. It's like route one. When all else has failed, that's when they are going for it. But we know they have their strength. I wonder why they don't start from the off. And we've not seen Nigeria being tested in that regard. In fact, to be honest, most teams in the AFCON struggle to deal with crosses. Most defenders at the AFCON have struggled to deal with crosses. And for Cameroon, now they are welcoming Vincent Abubakar back. That physical dominance of the front two, Abubakar and then Toko
I doubt
Ekambi.
if he will actually start though.
You see.
Even if he doesn't
Yeah, I
start,
wonder in what state he would be
even if he
coming
doesn't
into the
start,
game.
His presence on the bench alone.
look, I think they should. They can't worry Nigeria with that, and Nigeria themselves. Funny enough, look, it's understandable to say that you can't use a certain trend against some players. The fact that Osimhen has missed a chunk of chances in the group stages doesn't mean you can say he'll continue to miss. He's a top class striker, and the thing is prevent him from getting those chances. So it's two things. Cameroon don't defend well, and that means that Nigeria will probably have some good opportunities. And if that happens, Osimhen is there to be able to bang it in. And at the same time, the Nigerian defense too would struggle with dealing with the aerial threat of the Cameroonians. So it's one of those games that I don't think will follow the
Does anybody
trend.
know the news on Yusuf Mohammed though? I think it's gone quiet. I've been trying to find out if he's going to be
plays,
fit.
it completely changes the game.
Well, that guy was superb in the first fixture.
If he plays, it will change the game.
I've
If he
been
plays,
trying
I
to
think Nigeria could be
figure out
out
if-
of sight by
Yeah.
the time Cameroon slowly warm up into the game. But again, and we've seen derbies in this tournament already.
This is one of them.
And for me, the one that comes to mind is the Namibia-South Africa game. Namibia had a super game in the first game. South Africa were disappointing. But those teams have played against each other so many times. They know. And it doesn't follow form.
Namibia were naive and
They were,
childish.
no, because they actually felt they could go and take on.
They just
Yeah.
went on.
And that's the thing about derby games.
That was coaching, isn't it? I think the coach should have known better.
Yeah.
That
Just
these
too
guys
exposed.
are rivals
Especially
in
after
football.
the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
He should have
the
understood
signs
it,
were all
actually.
there.
Yeah.
He just didn't.
All right, so that's the lowdown. So Daniel, you didn't call it.
I don't know. I wanted to go to penalties.
How can the Oracle himself not know?
The money is on Cameroon.
The Oracle has to know.
My man is on Nigeria.
The money
Coach
says
says Cameroon.
Yeah,
My money is on a low scoring draw. I think it will go into penalties.
But somebody has to win the penalties.
Penalties to actually call it.
I think if it goes to penalties, Cameroon obviously
will
win.
win.
It's a psychological edge.
Let's talk about my absolute favorite team at this tournament. They have surprised me. They were in the same group with Ghana in the qualifiers.
Cabo
We didn't
Verde.
think that
No,
they
Angola.
were.
Angola,
Yeah, we
qualifiers,
didn't think
so
that they
okay.
were worth anything. They got in a very difficult group with Burkina Faso and Algeria. God damn, they topped the group comfortably. Beat Burkina, and they're up against Namibia, a country in the same region as them, the Southern African region. Is that a very straightforward game? Because Namibia themselves, as Daniel pointed out, they looked very good in the first game. Then they come up against a neighboring country or a country in the same region, and they look completely lost. And now they face another team that's in the same region and as impressive as they were in that last game against Mali. Mali.
Goalless,
Which ended in 0-0. You can't help but wonder what could happen against Angola.
I think it will come down to coaching. This is the knockout stages.
Yeah.
And like Sicho rightly said, you can't behave the way you were behaving in the group because there isn't going to be a second chance.
Yeah.
So what their coach really needs to do is to understand the situation at hand and then practically approach this team. Not in a too much defensive manner, but put his team out there. One, make it very difficult for them to get beat. Two, then they should wait for their moment. Because look, they are still very naive when it comes to the AFCON.
You're talking about Namibia.
I'm talking about Namibia.
Yeah.
They are still very naive when it comes to the AFCON. They don't have that winning experience at the AFCON. No. So if you now find yourself in the knockout stages, two things. Do you go out there to overly enjoy the occasion and get booted out? Or you want to be a bit greedy? If I'm the manager or if I'm in charge, we want to be a bit greedy. So it's not about the style. Because if you look at Angola, they are a footballing team.
Yeah.
They like to play football. They've got some good players. The guy who scored,
Gelson Dalla.
they are number 10. and then they are number 7. They are very, very technically good players. We saw them in Kumasi. That guy who dealt with Gideon Mensah back and forth, front and back like that.
He didn't come to
He
the
honorably
competition.
declined call saying that he didn't have a
Elder
club.
Costa.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's not even part of the
He's
team.
not even the team.
Yeah, he honorably declined the
Wow.
call.
Then they are missing something good. But
Yeah.
even that, if you look at the way they have gone about their business,
Very
they have been very smart.
Yes.
They've always have a clear idea on the opposition in front of them and how to approach the games.
Yeah.
Listen,
They've
they
not-
drew against Algeria.
That's right.
Then they beat Mauritania
That's
in
right.
the most entertaining game of the tournament
Because
so
you see,
far.
they knew they could beat Mauritania.
Yes.
So they went
They
for
traded the
it.
goal.
Against Algeria, they were very, very defensive
And
minded.
then in the last game, surprisingly,
Silly.
they beat Burkina Faso 2-0 very comfortably.
Because at the time of playing against Burkina Faso, they knew they had already qualified.
Yes.
But whether they were playing to top the group or not to, all they needed to do was, look, we are already in the knockout stages. So let's go and show our true character. And I watched that game against Burkina Faso. They were extremely, very, very good in every department. You
That's
could
why I
see
said
the
my favorite
chemistry.
team of the
And
tournament
you could
so
see
far.
the transition.
Superb, yeah.
So in the knockout stage, the question is, how are they looking at Namibia themselves? As
Are they,
Angola, come on.
are they underrating
Are they
them?
underrating
Are
them?
they-
But I think if they really show up with their true mentality and true self, they'll have just too much for Namibia to handle on a day.
Teacher, you think so?
Yeah, I think
Gelson Dalla, my absolute favorite.
I think there's something about Angola that I've enjoyed, right? They've got two key things. They are very physical,
Yes.
yet very skillful and technical.
Yes.
True.
And so when they played against Algeria in that first half, we saw it that they had to use physicality to try to repel Algeria, and then they couldn't, and they went down by a goal. But in the second half, they used a lot of intensity and their physicality to match Algeria. And at that time, Algeria were tiring. So you saw in that second half, Algeria couldn't cope with their physicality and the intensity they brought to the fore. Against Mauritania was end-to-end stuff. They really wanted to go for it, and they went for it. What did the trick for them against Burkina Faso was that as good as they were technically, they matched Burkina Faso's physicality.
Yeah.
Because one thing about Burkina Faso that we've come to realize in AFCON in the last decade is that you can't afford to go into the game not physically prepared to match them, because they've got that in abundance. They are quick, they are strong, they can bully you, they can run anything that you want in terms of physical power.
Yeah.
They've got that. But what Angola have got in this team is all of that. Technically gifted players, physically dominating players. And that is why I fear for Namibia. Because as exciting as they looked when they played against Tunisia, that was against a very poor Tunisian side that had come at the end of a cycle.
That's right.
Tunisia is at the end of a cycle. So Wabi Kaju didn't make it in second. That will be his last.
I think we can say that for Algeria too.
As well as Algeria. Yeah. So they got the victory there, but we saw how South Africa used a lot of, if you like, pace to outsmart them.
Yeah.
And that is why I worry for them when they come up against Angola, because Angola will not only approach them with the physicality to bully them, but they will also use the pace and the intensity and tempo they've got in their game to outrun them. I fancy Angola.
I agree. I'm going to move it on to two other teams that have been absolute favorites, in my opinion. But by the way, Angola and Namibia
Yeah.
are in the path of Nigeria and Cameroon.
Yeah, they're on the left-hand side of the draw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't get easier at all. It gets more difficult.
I mean, if you're either Nigeria or Cameroon, you're hoping that maybe, with all due respect to Namibia, they qualify because you fancy them rather than Angola.
Capo Verde and Mauritania.
The funny thing about the round of 16 is the matches that don't look.
That's
The matches
that's
that
gonna
don't
be-
look mouth-watering
Yeah,
the
the
most
most enjoyable.
are actually the
That's
ones
going to be a good
they are going
swing.
look.
Because Cape Verde, Mauritania, well, I think that would be high octane, non-stop running.
I think for Cape Verde and another team we'll get to. What I love about them is their efficiency on the ball.
Yeah.
What they do when they have the ball. They are not too concerned about having possession and dominating it. They are very difficult to break down, very difficult to play against. And at the same time, they give their opposition team every reason to worry when they have the ball. Because they are very purposeful, very direct, very driven when they have the ball. They know exactly what they are going to do. Anytime they pick up the ball, it's either a chance or a goal. They are literally coming at you. And for me, that's what I love about them. Their fearlessness.
Yeah.
We know that both teams will go out and play football. We know that both teams fancy that they can get the better of each other. And that's why this competition is interesting. If you have more like two big teams facing each other, they are both afraid of each other. So then you have a very tactical cagey game. But this is a case where Cape Verde will look at Mauritania knowing they can beat them and vice versa. So that means you are going to see a lot of good football and very similar. If anything, if any of the games on paper should go according to what we've seen in the group stages, I think it will be this one. This game will go according to what we've seen. Similar to the Mauritania and Angola game. Mauritania gave Angola.
No,
Namibia.
and Angola.
No, the Mauritania and
You
Angola
mean in
game,
the group
In
stage?
the group
Yes,
stage,
yes,
okay,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Mauritania gave Angola no respect.
Of course.
They fancy they could get the better. And to be honest, that game could easily have been 5-5.
They were unlucky, really.
They were very unlucky in terms of their finishing. So they will look at that and feel like they can't correct those mistakes and look at this Cape Verdean team and think they can beat them. So for me, it's one of the games I would not want to miss. I could literally miss the Nigeria-Cameroon game. But this Cape Verde,
don't want
for a
to.
neutral, is a game that you cannot miss.
1 minute. Take Morocco and SA for me.
Is the reason why it's difficult is that I don't know what to expect from Morocco. I think our expectations of the Moroccan team
Have
at
not
the start
been
of the
met, huh?
competition
Are you
is
quite
what is-
disappointed
I
in
think
Morocco already?
Sitcho was the only one who predicted they
It's
would
not-
struggle.
I thought they would struggle.
Right.
But I think the first game for me cemented my fears. Now, it may sound surprising because they won 3-0. But if you watch the Tanzania game, Morocco, the game was flat. It was still. It took that set piece to break the
Two of
deadlock.
them, in
And
fact.
even after that,
Yeah.
Morocco still struggled to break down Tanzania until the
Until
red card. And I think after the red card, the Tanzanians also really disappointed me because what you would have expected was for them to be a bit more compact and very difficult for Morocco. But it looked like they threw caution to the wind and it allowed Morocco to cut. In fact, if you watch the last two Morocco goals, they were in transitions. Morocco didn't pick the ball up and pass them and open them up. So we know that when you look at the World Cup, you look at the games they've played since the World Cup, Morocco have struggled to break down teams. They don't have the players in there. At least Boufal and Co are not as integral in the starting lineup as before. So the guys who will start, they don't have that technical ability to pick the ball and go past players. Maybe only Unahi has that skill to be able to do that. So if you are defensively compact, we know you can worry them. But in the same vein, South Africa don't do that. South Africa like to play football. They like to open up. So I think this is where we'll see the World Cup Morocco, where I'm very sure South Africa will dominate the game. South Africa will have a lot of possession. And Morocco will use their low block and counter-attack to get the better of them. But
So,
Morocco's last stop is quarterfinals.
so you think they will?
Look, I don't think so. I think they will go all the way. Because as you are talking about they not being able to break down teams are not finding it easy breaking them down.
Have they been tested though, coach?
No, but you can't test them.
They had a very easy
You have to be a better
They
opposition
played Tanzania
than
and they
them.
played.
And I'm saying that if you look at all the teams you've watched, the only team that I can see testing the Moroccan team
Senegal.
is the Senegalese team. Because the Moroccan, look, one thing you don't know, they have a solid back line, a good goalkeeper, solid defensive frame, solid midfield cover in Amrabat, who is always there to shield. That is one thing I've not seen of all the other teams.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
Just all right. So we'll see.
But let's disabuse our minds of this idea that Ivory Coast can slumber through the group stage and suddenly wake up against the best team on the continent. It is not going to happen.
Okay.
There is only so far that desire and vengeance and hard work and motivation can get you. When they get the ball, where the desire will show itself when they have to put in those last-ditch tackles, when they have to chase Senegal around. But when they get the ball, they have to fashion out a way to get the ball past, draw Lamine Camara out of the way, draw Matassa, Pape Gueye, draw. That's the only way you are going to get goals against Senegal, because as expansive as they've looked when they are on the ball, they are bloody disciplined off it. That's how come teams are not getting.
That's in the best I've seen.
Are not getting chances. I'm not even talking about. That's how come teams are not getting chances, even though Senegal have looked very expansive. And it is very tempting for anyone to look at that team and say, hang on a minute, why aren't teams carving them out open on the counter break? It's because they have a plan for counter breaks. They have a plan.
Unlike Cote d'Ivoire against Equatorial Guinea.
Exactly. So
every counter was a goal.
If Ivory Coast are going to win this game, it is not because they suddenly had an epiphany about the situation that they are in and the fact that they need to do something or
new manager bounce.
No, it's not. It is going to be because they figured a way to carve apart that Senegalese protective cover in the middle, stretch that defense.
Do you think they can do that?
I don't think so.
So you think Senegal beats them all?
Look, they are a world-class team. The other day, I responded to Cicho's tweet about the cohesiveness that they are showing. It's uncommon in international football. And
especially
in Africa,
this part of the world.
In any other confederation, when teams play like that, they tend to make the final or win it. So if you go to the CONMEBOL region, the CONCACAF regions, when Uruguay, when Chile could find that telepathy, they won the Copa America three times.
That Chilean team is one of the best international groups I've seen.
It was so good.
Three times.
They were together for so long.
Sanchez, Vidal, Bosejo, Vargas. It was one of the best international teams that I'd ever seen.
Because beyond all the tactics
I'm
and the other
really
things
very
that you
surprised how Senegal didn't do too well at the World Cup.
about
England beat them. Come on.
Talk about
Yeah, but they couldn't. That's
Come
England.
on.
England.
England had been to the Euro finals.
England?
No, they were better.
You know they see them. That's why.
it's an experience.
And this group didn't have the experience.
It's an
at that level.
experience that was
If
part.
Spain beats them,
It's an
if
experience that was
Argentina
necessary
beats
for the
them,
learning curve that they are in.
England,
But Spain is not better
But
than
England outperformed all of those teams you are mentioning.
Absolutely.
at that tournament.
They are from Germany,
So-
Spain.
So look, the point for me is that if you look into history,
if
I've
your
mentioned
coach is a
Chile.
Rasta man, you
Even
should be
in
winning
Europe,
every match.
Look at the German team and
Yeah.
the telepathy that we spoke about. Except the minimum, they were making the semis of Euros, World Cup,
Cups,
Euros. Eventually, they won the
Final,
World
they won
Cup.
it.
Chile had the titles to back it. Germany had the titles to back it. Spain, when it cleared for them, they had the titles to back it.
Then Portugal had to use only Ronaldo to do it. It's the only anomaly.
Friends, on the Equatorial Guinea team, I am proud that they have proved me right because, and I said that for every AFCON, look, work your maths. When you finish, come and wait for them in the round of 16 because they will qualify. And what they've done this season for me is the most impressive of everything that they've done as far as their AFCON history is concerned. I mean, the way they've blown away teams. And you see,
Are they blowing away Guinea? That's where we are.
they will. I think, look, I love teams that know who they are. Last week, we heard Tom Seinfeld. He complained bitterly. He said, you people, you are not Cameroon, you are not Senegal, but you are telling me that even when I've beaten Morocco, the team is not expansive enough. Look, Equatorial Guinea know who they are. They have no interest in passing the ball 5 or 6 times. 2-3 passes, they are in your half. And they are passing the ball into areas where their players are far removed from the nearest opposition player, which gives them time to think and time for the nearest player to run into space. So if you look at the goals they scored against Ivory Coast, they were all exactly like that.
I love the third goal.
So the player
The pass through the two bodies was the goal.
the player who carries the ball has time and space to think and waits for his teammates. His teammates has time to make that run and then get closer to the opponent and take out the defensive options that Ivory Coast had in that situation. And it was as if the same template was brought for every goal that they scored. And
To be fair, if I had the ball with the way Cote d'Ivoire organized
That
their
much
defense,
space.
I find my teammate with cheeky ease.
If Jurassic had been available
With all
for,
that much space.
if Jurassic had been available for this one, they would have required something of Equatorial Guinea that no team has, not even Nigeria
Okay,
with
true.
Victor
Thank you.
Osimhen.
Numo, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire.
I think it's going to be one-sided. Because, look, Cote d'Ivoire, like he rightly said, cannot wake up overnight. And
They have been poor, huh?
extremely, very poor.
Yeah.
Look, in midfield, where it matters, I think that is where the Senegalese strength actually is, in midfield. That under-20 boy. Now, that's somebody who is benchy, Idrissa Ganagay. And then the pace they've got from the two flanks, in Sarr and Sadio Mane, that is where Cote d'Ivoire will struggle.
Yeah.
If you go and bring the guy who played for Nottingham Forest, no,
Willy
Willy Bolly, he can run.
And then beyond not being able to run, the decision making
It's very bad. Now, in midfield, they are playing with Frankesi, Sagari.
Fofana.
They are very slow.
Yeah, that is also true.
They are
They're good,
very
but they're
slow.
slow.
Is the
They are
problem
good,
not
but they are
is
very,
the
very
problem
slow.
not the spacing though?
Yeah, because they are very slow. They cannot do a lot of off-the-ball movement. If Kessie picks up the ball,
No, I'm even talking about the shape of the team when not in possession.
Yeah, but
in the
you
sense
see-
that if they're structured well, they stay closer.
You see, if
and they
they-
don't have to do too much running.
at the end of the day, if they are going to be playing against Senegal like they will be
They
doing,
will have to run.
they will have to run.
Yeah.
And it will come down to that.
Yeah.
And look, the Senegalese team is the only team I have seen in the tournament that can decide to pass the ball one touch. Pa, 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 pa.
Yeah.
And they turn to get it right. Everybody is taking one touch on the ball. I receive pa, pa, pa. And then when you meet teams that play like that, there's no defensive setup that can hold them at bay. They will definitely carve you open. And the intensity of their passing, absolutely sublime. And look at Sadio Mane. Come on, man. He's a team player, isn't it? He's
Yeah,
the star
okay.
boy in the team.
Yeah.
But
But
if
he's
you watch
setting
them,
up goals.
You
like,
hardly see that he's indeed the star.
yeah.
He's making life very easy for those in and around him. He's not overly dwelling on the ball like somebody would do in the Black Stars.
And he's not a, and he's not a,
You understand?
and he's not, and the team is not a pass it to Mani team.
No, at all.
Some
It is
teams
not.
are pass it to Kudus team,
That is it.
pass it to Salah team,
Go
pass it to Mahrez team.
Everybody play. Mane, very intelligently too. Once the boys start playing, he doesn't even want to get involved in the build-up. He's on his move because he believes in their ability to get the ball into the final attacking tech. The Ivorians, look, two reasons why I don't think they'll beat Senegal. The pressure is too immense.
The
These
when he's
boys,
supposed to be in here,
they cannot handle it all. Because
and we saw it against Nigeria. The
Yes.
when they went down, they were so nervous. So like,
Their
was
heads
so
just
bad.
their heads just went down. And against Senegal, the champions of the tournament, Senegal know the state of that. They would Ali Cisse will tell them, because I would tell them if I'm their boss, don't do anything for them to believe they can match you. Because the moment you start giving them that
Especially
opportunity,
early on. First 20 minutes.
First 20 minutes, if you can come and go put them under their usual pressure that they tend not to handle well. First goal from Senegal, they will break down. Then second, then third. Then they'll see their smoothness
relax for
level.
them.
No, they are not good enough. They actually don't deserve to be where they are.
I think one of the things that will work for Cote d'Ivoire is the absence of Jean-Louis Gasset.
Yeah.
I don't know where you guys got that manager from. Comme si, comme ça, ça va.
No, but at the end of the day, who they've given a job to? Who?
Fire.
His assistant.
No more. He cannot do anything.
Sit your face.
But I have a different view of this Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal game. And as I mentioned earlier, that I honestly see international football as two different tournaments. And I don't think Cote d'Ivoire will be as bad as they were in the group stages. It's impossible for me to think that. Because listen, Cote d'Ivoire have got a very talented group of footballers. And if they can find a click, there isn't one country on this continent that won't struggle to play against them.
You see, that's what that's
But what they've not found
If they
yet
can
is the click. And now they've got a manager out of the door. Not even Senegal know what to expect. Everything that we are discussing here is based on what we saw under that gaffer. Now, there's going to be a new manager. If he's able to pass some information across, that changes the way they behave on that pitch with the talent they've got. Even if Senegal are going to win, it's not going to be as simple as we've made it look like. because the group of players that they've got, and luckily for them, someone Adingra is fit, probably gets into the starting lineup. That's a different proposition altogether. The midfield they've got in Sangare, Kessie, and Fofana. If it clicks, not many midfield on this continent can bulldoze through them. If that back line clicks, it's a problem because they've got very good laterals. They need to sort the two centre halves, their partnership together. And I'm saying that for Cote d'Ivoire, with the squad that they've massively underwhelmed, right? And if they step it up, which I think they will, I think they will against anybody because they are the host, one. And I think the reason why they got the manager out of the door in the middle of the competition is because he wasn't getting along with the playing group and he might have lost the dressing room. If a manager loses the dressing room and that problem in the dressing room is gone, it normally puts the team together. So think about it. If all of us are here at 5 and I'm the bad nut and all of you are against me and our big boss managed to kick me out, you find unity and purpose in that. And I've seen teams go on from the managerial bounds for 2, 3 games, 4 games. If you get to do that in a tournament for 4 games,
have you ever seen that happen in a tournament?
Because I'm not seeing a coach being sacked in the middle of a tournament. I've not seen some. I've seen one being sacked at the head of the tournament, right? Spain got their manager, Junior
just
before their technical. So that is that. But even for Senegal, I've not been blown away by what they've done through our games. I've been blown away by aspects of the game. And when you look at their first game where the red card happened, I think that game was against Gambia. That game was against Gambia, Senegal. Senegal were not overly impressive, right? They actually struggled to break them down until the red card. And Senegal played against a Cameroonian side that was terribly badly coached by Rigobert Song. Senegal didn't need to break any stride, change into any gear to beat Cameroon. Cameroon were just bad. And even that, Cameroon showed us, and not only Cameroon, all the 3 games they played, we've seen a weakness in that Senegalese team. They struggled to deal with aerial balls coming into the box. So even though Cameroon were that poor, Cameroon could have gone 2-2 and the game could have ended there. If Nkudu had scored that free header, which was more difficult to miss than to score.
But until that, Senegal had blown away so many chances themselves.
They were badly, that's what I said. Cameroon were bad. And it wasn't as if Senegal had to take so much effort in breaking down Cameroon.
So
the Cameroonian team that we saw was terrible.
So for you, Senegal have weaknesses. Actually, there's Senegal, nothing for you. Yeah. For you.
Yeah. Senegal have got weaknesses in the side.
But there's something that I would want us to
please go on.
Focus on a bit. Normally, in some of these analyses, you want to look at the strength of one
of
team
the opposition
and then match it with the weakness.
That's it.
So that's how you look at the scenarios where...
What do you think the weakness in this Cote d'Ivoire team is?
No,
now that you don't know their coach.
It's not
the same players. We've seen them already.
I'm saying that.
It is, you see, it would be so much unfair for you to think that the new coach coming is going to bring that drastic transformation. In tournament football,
one thing could change a lot.
It's just one player.
If you are not good, you are not good.
No, but let me
if you're not up, go ahead.
When you look at before the tournament, when you looked at the Cote d'Ivoire squad, and you look at the attack, Jeremy Boga, Crasso, Sebastian, all these players, Edingra, and look at the quality they had in the team. Did you for 1 second think they were going to be as bad as they were, or they were going to be wrongly coached as they were?
I predicted they would be knocked out in the first round. I predicted that they are lucky to be where they are.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, I predicted that. I had a program with.
I want to get
what I was coming to was when you look at all the things that Senegal are susceptible to, do you find solutions to that in the Ivorian attack? So, for example, the fact that they've struggled with crosses. Do Ivory Coast, are they capable of stretching their Senegalese defense and then having someone inside the box who's making those third runs or a presence in the box who can actually get onto the end of those and finish those?
Yeah, I think so. I think last one I said Simon Adingra is coming. He's a very good cross of the ball. He's a very good wide player. Sebastian Haller, we understand, could be fit for the fixture as well. It's a different dimension to all the attackers they've got. What I've said is, when I look at that Cote d'Ivoire team that they've got some genuine quality in there. What we don't know is if the new manager just tweaks something to get this team playing better. And for Senegal, what surprises will Cote d'Ivoire throw to them? Because we've seen Cote d'Ivoire, they've been poor, but I don't think they will be as bad as they were in the group stages.
Very well. So for you think that they will?
No, I think Senegal are favourites, but I just wanted to say that it's going to be closer. It's going to be closer than many people think Senegal will blow them out. And I won't be surprised if Cote d'Ivoire nick it.
Very well. Yeah.
I think the wastefulness of the Senegalese attack is something we are not dwelling on too much.
Yeah, because they're getting away with it.
Look, in the knockout stages, you may not get away with it. In the knockout stages, with 80 minutes, you may not have scored 3-4 goals to be comfortable enough. That Cameroon game should give us an indication of what they are going to face in the knockout stages. It is not always, like we said, we've already established, it is not always a team that plays the best football that will win games in a competition. Even in the analysis of this game, we are talking as if the game is 90 minutes. It's not. Côte d'Ivoire don't even need to plan to contain Senegal for just 90 minutes. This Senegalese team doesn't have a very potent striker. Look at who is scoring their goals and look at where the goals are coming from. It's coming from midfielders, wide men.
They've never had one. They've never had one.
No, they've never had one, but that has been a problem. To win. Last AFCON, they scored one goal.
Why is it a problem?
They scored one goal in the group stages.
Yes.
They went to the knockout rounds, and I think they literally limped. They found a way to score one, and it was their defense that helped them. It wasn't necessarily the attack. But this time around, they are dominating teams, and they are not being tested. The one time we saw a team put them under pressure for just a 10-minute spell, it was almost disaster.
Could you
what I'm saying is that
could you just say that at the time they were comfortably leading 2-0, so they might have dropped off a bit?
No, I don't think so.
Against Cameroon,
I
they
don't
took a
think so.
2-0
Even at
lead.
2-1.
No,
That's not
Okay. Then just finish up for me, because I think, for example, I don't look. I think somebody alluded to it that we've seen teams be so brilliant, so good in the group stages, like Nigeria in the last AFCON, and then when the knockout rounds came around,
it's a different ball game.
they were found. And Tunisia were not that impressive the group stages.
No.
And we all expected Nigeria to beat them, but it was a completely different.
Another thing about this Ivorian team, I said it at the start of the competition, and I was actually surprised at the outcome, what happened in the group stages. They are a team that usually knows how to turn up under pressure. I think that the way they've qualified to the round of 16 and what they've done since then, they are going into this game with a slight advantage because, and I'll repeat Citro's point, Senegal do not know what to expect. This is tournament football. One change could completely make them look. It could catch Senegal by surprise. Yeah. We all know how Senegal are come to present themselves, but nobody knows what the Ivorians are going to do. And when nobody knows what you are going to do, and you have quality, there are so many super top class players in there that can give them very different tactical variations that we can't expect.
Sadio Mane.
That's why Uriah is not
Whoever is there, Sadio Mane will deal with the person. The Sabo, he will deal with the left
You
back.
have Jeremy Boga
In midfield,
guys.
coming at you.
They can't do any
guys.
good thing. Jeremy Boga, his end product has always been bad.
Thank you.
You know that for a fact.